Alright, so a lot of times my students ask me a question that, alright sir, continuously you're dealing with questions which have a 90-degree angle or are right angle triangles, right? But what about those triangles which are not 90-degree angles, or they are irregular, they have different angles? So then what happens? So in that scenario, or in that case, you have got two formulas. So we'll be continuing, or we'll be doing sine rule and cos rule now. Sine rule and cosine rule, so we'll get into that in just a minute. First things first, sine rule is normally used for triangles which are not 90 degree, or they do not have a 90 degree angle. So for example, you have this angle as, this looks more than 90 degree, I'll call it 110. This looks less, let's call it 30. And so you've got two sides given to you, and let's suppose that this side is 18. Now you have to find x, you have to find, let's not go by right now. We will be doing these questions as well, but let's say you just have to find out x now. In order to complete, or in order to do questions for sine rule and cos rule, or those questions which have irregular triangles which are not 90-degree angle, you have to know one basic rule over here, and this basic rule goes back to the basics of trigonometry. You can use this rule for Pythagoras theorem as well. You can use this rule for trigonometric ratios as well. So everywhere you can use this rule, right? What is this rule? The rule is that if a triangle is given to you of sides A, B and C respectively, now these A, B and C are basically the angles. So this angle will be called angle ABC, where there would be an arrow on B, which would signify that you're finding out the angle B over here. But the important part over here is, right in front of B, or the side right in front of B would be small b. The side right in front of angle A would be small a. And the side right in front of C, angle C, would be small c. Okay? I cannot emphasize that enough how important this concept is. You have to be on top of this. You have to know that the side which is in front of an angle would be its lower cap letter. Okay? So you have C over here, you have A over here, you have B over here. Now, the formula that you have is A over sine A equals to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. You will use any of these two terms in a particular question. You will not be using all three terms together or interchangeably. You would not do that. You can only use any two terms. So for example, you can use this one, or you can use this one, or you can use A and C together. But you cannot use all three of them together. There's just the general formula that is given to you, right? So let's try this formula over here in the question given to us above. Let's call this big X, let's call this Y, and let's call this Z. So small x you have to find out, small z, let's suppose we have to find out small z as well, and small y is given to you, right? So how will we work this out? Let's use our formula. X over sine x equals to y over sine y. Let's sine y is the big one over here. Let's use only these two terms for now, because first we're finding x out. So x is not given to us, let's keep this as our variable. Sine x, the value for x is 30. So sine 30 equals to y, small y is given to you as 18, and sine y is given to you as 110. Let's play with it a bit algebraically. So x equals to 18 sine 30 over sine 110. Let's try to figure this out and let's see what's going on, or do we get a correct answer or no, right? Obviously there's just a made up question, so a lot of times there can be mistakes with made up questions because they're just out of the blue. So sine 30 gives you 0.5. 0.5 times 18 gives you 9 over sine 110 gives you 0.93. So 0.9394, I'll keep it because it's 0.939. So 9 divided by 0.9394, 0.94 gives you 9.57. X equals to 9.57. There is no hypotenuse, there is no adjacent, there is no opposite over here. Rather, there are opposite sides, small a, small b, small c, so you have to keep that in mind. So the side x that we have over here is 9.57. And it makes sense because 18 seems to be the tallest side or the longest side, and 9.57 seems a bit shorter than that. Once this is given to you, 9.57, can we find out the angle for z? So the angle for z is in the first lecture, right after the introduction lecture that I gave you, the basic lecture, in which I told you that sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. So 110 plus 30 gives you 140. So this z angle will automatically be 40. So now you know that. Once you know the angle, let's try to find out z over here. So again we will use, I will draw them so that I can do this correctly. So now let's use y and z. So y over sine y equals to z over sine z. Y is given to us as 18 over sine 110 equals to z over sine 40. When I take this upstairs, so this becomes 18 sine 40 over sine 110 equals to z. Let's try to figure this out. Sine 40 gives us 0.64. When you times it by 18, you get 11.57. I'll keep it as 11.57. And sine 110 gave you 0.94. That we have figured out earlier only, right? So 11.57 divided by 0.94 gives you 12.3. So 12.3 equals to z. So now your answer for z would be 12.3. And that is how you do sine rule. Let's get into the next video where I will be giving you some practice questions for the sine rule.